Dear students, today I am teaching you transportation, one of the part of life process. First, we may see what is transportation. Transportation is a life process in which a substance is synthesized or absorbed in one part of the organism is carried to other part of the body. And for this transportation, blood is required in human beings. Blood consists of fluid medium called plasma, in which the cells are suspended. Plasma transports food, carbon dioxide, and nitrogenous waste in dissolved form. Oxygen is carried by the red blood cells. Many other substances like salts are also transported by the blood. We thus need a pumping organ to push the blood around the body, and a network of tubes is required. So our pump which is required to circulate the blood is heart. Heart is a muscular pumping organ, roughly the size of our fist, 12 into 9 centimeter. Its average weight is 300 gram in males and 250 grams in females. It is reddish brown in color and somewhat conical in form. Because both oxygen and carbon dioxide have to be transported by the blood. Listen carefully, because both oxygen and carbon dioxide have to be transported by the blood, the heart has different chambers to prevent the oxygen-rich blood from mixing with the blood containing carbon dioxide. Chambers to prevent oxygen-rich, and this is done by the structure of heart. You can follow the process step by step. Oxygen-rich blood from the lungs comes to a thin-walled upper chamber of heart on the left, in the left atrium. So oxygen-rich blood from the lungs comes to the left atrium, which is situated in left side of your body. The left atrium relaxes when it is collecting the blood. It then contracts while the next chamber, the left ventricle, expands so that the blood is transferred to it. When the muscular left ventricle contracts in its turn, the blood is pumped out to the body. Deoxygenated blood comes from the body to the upper chamber on right side, in the right atrium. As it expands, as the right atrium contracts, the corresponding lower chamber, right ventricle, dilates. This transfers blood to the right ventricle, which in turn pumps it to the lungs for oxygenation. Since ventricles have to pump blood into various organs, they have thicker muscular wall than the atria. Atria valves ensure the blood does not flow back when atria or ventricles contract, and this contraction continuously goes on, and our pumping mechanism is carried in the heart. So let us see some structure of blood. Blood has 55% of plasma. 55% of the blood is plasma, and rest 45% of blood is blood cells. These blood cells are three kinds: red blood cells, erythrocytes, white blood cells, leukocytes, and blood platelets, thrombocytes. These blood platelets are used to what to do to stop the flow of blood if accidentally some injury occurs. Oxygen enters the blood in lungs. The separation of the right side and the left side of the heart is useful to keep oxygenated and deoxygenated blood from mixing. Such separation allows highly efficient supply of oxygen to the body, because we need maximum amount of energy. Therefore our blood should be pure, that means oxygen rich. This is useful in animals that have high energy needs like human beings, such as birds and mammals, which constantly use energy to maintain their body temperature. In animals that do not use energy for this purpose, the body temperature depends on the temperature of the environment. So we are warm blooded and others are cold blooded. So we can see amphibians or many reptiles around us. Amphibians and many reptiles, they have three-chambered hearts, can tolerate some mixing of oxygenated and deoxygenated blood. Fishes, they have two-chamber heart. The blood from the body is pumped to the gills and passes directly to the different organs of the body. So we must learn, in fishes there is two-chambered heart, in reptiles there is three-chambered heart, and in case of human being and birds it is four-chambered. In all these three cases, where the three-chambered and two-chambered, there is a single circulation of blood. Blood only passes through the heart one time. All mammals, including man, have a double circulation. One circulation is between heart and lungs, called pulmonary circulation. One circulation is between heart and lungs, called pulmonary circulation, and one between the heart and the rest of the body, called systemic circulation. So two circulation take place in our heart, in human body's heart, and the blood is circulated two times in the heart. One, when it is brought by the from the body into the heart, then it is pumped from heart to lungs, and from lungs the same blood is, after purification, is carried to the heart, and then heart again pump it to different parts. So this circulation is called double circulation. Now we will study network of circulation. In the network, the tubes, blood vessels. First we will see the veins. Collect the blood from different organs and bring it back to the heart. They collect the blood from different organs, from the cells, and bring it to the heart. They carry impure blood except pulmonary veins. Except pulmonary veins, which is in the heart, it carries, that pulmonary veins carries blood from the heart to the lungs for purification. They are called pulmonary veins. They do not need thick walls because there is no pressure on the blood. While we are collecting blood from the body and bringing it back to the heart, at that time no thick wall tubules are required. So we can say veins do not have thick walls. They have valves that ensures blood is unidirected, means once it is pushed up it does not come back. So the walls of the veins is thin. The valves are, there should not be confusion between walls and valves. Walls of veins are thin and valves present inside the veins prevent the blood to flow back. Blood flow without jerks in veins. In the case of arteries, arteries are vessels which carry blood away from the heart to various parts or to various organs of the body. They carry pure blood except pulmonary artery. Pulmonary artery from the heart carries, from the lungs carries blood to the heart. So two exceptional cases are there. Arteries are made for carrying pure blood, but in the heart, pulmonary artery carry impure blood to lungs for purification, and after purification from lungs, the pulmonary veins carry the purified blood, that is oxygen rich blood, to the heart. This is exceptional case. You must learn this very clearly, because sometime in MCQ or another 1 mark question, if you write pulmonary artery, they are carrying pure blood, this will be wrong. Pulmonary veins which are carrying impure blood will be, because you are in the sense of arteries, arteries carries pure blood, veins carries impure blood, you will write directly that it is carrying impure blood. If I say, ask you the pulmonary veins, and if ask you pulmonary artery, you will your sense or everybody can give the answer. But you must be careful. Pulmonary artery carries impure blood from the heart to lungs, and from lungs the pure blood is carried back to the heart by pulmonary veins, that you can see in the diagram of the heart. Arteries have thick elastic walls as the blood emerges from the heart under high pressure, because pumps with the high pressure, and that has to pump it to the different parts of the body, so they require thick elastic walls, and they do not have valves. As in the case of veins, valves are there, and their veins wall are thin, but in the case of arteries, their walls are thick and valves are absent. So blood flows with jerks in the arteries. On reaching an organ or tissue, the artery divides into smaller and smaller vessels to bring the blood in contact with all individual cells. The smallest vessel have walls which are 1 cell thick and is called capillaries. Exchange of material between the blood and surrounding cells takes place across this thin wall. The capillaries then join together to form veins that convey this blood away from the organ or tissues and take it to the heart. Now, What happens when we get injury and tubes develops a leak? When we have injured and bleedings, the loss of blood from the system has to be minimized. In addition, leakage would lead to the loss of pressure, which would reduce the efficiency of pumping system. To avoid this, blood has platelet cells, RBC, WBC, and then one platelet cells. So platelets contain which circulate around the blood and plug these leaks by helping to clot the blood at these points. So for fighting against the bacteria or virus, we have WBC, white blood cells. And to carry the oxygen and bring back the carbon dioxide, we have hemoglobin, RBC, red blood cells. And to plug the injuries, we have platelets. Now one more thing is lymph. The blood circulatory system is closed system because all the vessels are connected together and blood always remain inside the blood vessels. However, some fluids from the blood plasma does filter out through thin capillaries into the intercellular spaces of the cells. This fluid is called lymph. So lymph is a fluid that has come out through the thin wall of the capillaries into the intercellular spaces, and that has to be taken back to the blood. It is similar to the plasma of blood but colorless and contains very less proteins. So lymph drains into lymphatic capillaries from the intercellular spaces, which join to form large lymph vessels that finally open into large veins, and lymph carries digested and absorbed fat from intestine and drains excess fluid from the extracellular spaces back into the blood. So this was the transportation in animals, especially in human beings. Now we can see transportation in plants. Simpler compounds like carbon dioxide, which is transported during the photosynthesis through the stomata, that can be seen a kind of exchange of gases. Oxygen is released out and carbon dioxide is taken in. Now the other kinds of materials need for building plant bodies will also have to be taken separately. Leaves are preparing food during the photosynthesis. That food has to be taken to roots or different parts in the roots or in stem for storage, and different parts for the requirement of energy. For plants, the soil is the nearest and richest source of raw material like nitrogen, phosphorus, and other materials. So the absorption of these substances therefore occurs through the part in contact with the soil, and the part in contact with the soil is root. If the distances between the soil containing organs and chlorophyll containing organs are small, energy and raw material can easily diffuse of all parts of the plants. But if these distances become large because of changes in plant's body design, diffusion process will not be sufficient. In the tall trees, the distance from leaves and roots is great, so in that case diffusion can't work. So a proper system of transportation is therefore essential in such situation. Now, how it occurs? Plants do not move from one place to another. Plant body is fixed. So as a result, plant have low energy needs and can use relatively slow transportation system. Plants transport system will move energy stores from leaves and raw materials in by the vascular bundles. These two pathways are constructed as independent organisms. Xylem moves water and minerals obtained from soil. Phloem transports products of photosynthesis from leaves to other parts of the plant body. Now, transportation in the higher or tall trees is done especially it requires, and before that I want to explain something to you. The loss of water in the form of vapors from the aerial part of the plant is known transpiration. This is a word, transpiration. You must clear about this. Loss of water in the form of vapor from the aerial parts of the plant is known as transpiration. Now, transpiration is necessary. Transpiration, that is evaporation of water, causes transpiration, and it causes pull, a kind of suction through the stomata. If water vapors are going outside, then there will be a suction pull that water upwards through the xylem vessels, because xylem vessels all are having connected with the cells, and if one cell will have less amount of water, then other will pass water to this. But for the tall trees, a kind of pull is produced when transpiration takes place. With this transpiration pull, water and minerals move from roots to leaves. It helps in temperature regulation. During the day, when the stomata are open, the transpiration is more than the water taken up by the roots. It can cause wetting and even death of the plants. Hence, transportation is necessary, and this is a kind of your circulatory system in plants. Food is transported, and its transportation is called what? Translocation. The translocation of food and other substances takes place in the sieve tubes. If you learn and remember, you have learned in class 9th the structure of phloem. Phloem has sieve tubes with the help of adjacent companion cells, both in upward and downward direction. So translocation is a process. The transport of soluble products of photosynthesis can be said as translocation, or we can say movement of prepared food from leaves to different parts of the body is called transportation, and it occurs mainly by phloem. Now, minerals like sucrose is transferred into phloem tissues using energy from the ATP. This increase in osmotic pressure of the tissue causing water to move into it. This pressure moves the materials in the phloem tissue which have less pressure. I repeat again, this pressure moves the material in the phloem to tissues which have less pressure. This allows the phloem to move material according to the plant's need. For example, in spring, sugar stored in root or stem tissues would be transported to the birds which need energy to grow. Now, you have understood how the materials are transported in human being and in plants. I hope you understand this and you can ask me if it is insufficient. You like my this channel and write some comments on it. Thank you very much.